with a potential return to WWE and more. This is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report for August 17th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. During a recent Instagram live session, Becky Lynch claims she gets to write her own promos in WWE, saying, "Thankfully for me, it's not like that, and it's not like that for this guy either. We get a promo and sometimes there'll be lines in it that you have to hit. There'll often be that the lines that you're like, that doesn't sound like she would say that, but for the most part, we've gotten to the point where we've got enough equity and we've gotten enough trust that we get to write our own promos. It's usually a collaborative process, where if I'm comfortable with my writer, I'll go, well, what do you think of this? I feel like it's got to hit more, and I think we could do more with this." A lot of the times they'll come up with a good line. It's collaborative that way when you've gotten that equity. But I think when you first come up, it's different. Like when I first came up, I was too scared to say anything out of turn. I was like, oh, these are the words on the page. I must say every single word exactly as it is. Thankfully, it's not like that anymore. Speaking on the sessions, Renee Paquette touched on her run as a commentator on Raw, revealing she had trouble with Vince McMahon being in her ear. "There were times that Vince would for sure be in my ear, but I'll tell you what was really rough about that was hearing him. There were so many times where I'm like, could you repeat that again? Like, I just couldn't hear him. I don't know if that was a me problem. I don't know if it was him mumbling, but there were definitely times where he was talking to me, but I could not tell what he was trying to get me to say. He kind of gave me shit for something. I can't remember what. I think it might have been during a Firefly Funhouse bit, which is a mouthful to begin with." Talking about a potential opponent for him at WrestleMania, Rey Mysterio told Inside the Ropes, "The one guy I had in mind, and it's actually happening right now as we speak, is Finn Balor. The opportunity of working against Finn, and these last couple of weeks that we've been on Raw, I really feel like we have great chemistry together. It was bound to happen, just because I know how dedicated he is and how committed he is. So I think the program I've been doing with Finn has been incredible. I mean, I always felt that it would be difficult to put my hands on top of my son and hurt him. I don't only think about myself, but I also think about what my wife would feel. I don't know, it was hard. It's been hard. I mean, just coming up with that top is very difficult around the house." On the Swerve City podcast, Chris Jericho was asked about the retirement of Vince McMahon from WWE and changes coming to the company, where he said this about the former chairman and CEO. "I can go back working for him for 17 to 18 years. Obviously, there are Vince-isms that don't make sense, and I did learn a lot about the psychology of the business and how to be a star and how to conduct yourself, how to be a true main eventer and money draw. I think the pros, if that's the right word, the pros of Vince leaving WWE will be seen very quickly. There are a lot of changes right off the bat, very refreshing, lots of in-ring time. The cons of Vince leaving won't be felt for a few months, maybe more, 6 months, a year. There are a lot of things that Vince did, little things, and I know people bag on him for his recent booking. And obviously there was a habit he had, but the guys who were true main event stars are legit stars. Legit stars. You can spot them from a mile away. Look at the difference between Drew McIntyre now, prior to the last run he had. Vince worked with him to make him a top guy and top star. Same with Roman Reigns. Completely different now than it was before he turned heel. Brock is a babyface. I can tell Vince worked with him as being a babyface. You can spot it, I can see it. Tough guys usually don't want to smile. Triple H never really wanted to smile. Babyfaces smile. That's part of being a badass. You open that door of personality. A lot of those guys are working in Vince's image. Stephanie McMahon has obviously been trained from day one. Hunter has been trained from day one. All of Vince's principles will probably still be used, but there is something to be said. I can be in a band with Eddie Van Halen and we're in Van Halen. Halen. He's the greatest guitar player in the world. He quits Van Halen, bring in Steve Vai, who is just as good of a player, but he's not Eddie Van Halen. He's not a genius in the same way. Vince is a once-in-a-generation genius. People can watch this and say, you're standing up for him. I'm not saying anything outside the ring or whatever. I'm just saying from what I learned about the business from him and Pat Patterson, another genius. Vince learned from Pat too. Learning in that era, it's something that will end up hurting in the long run, by no fault of anybody's own, just time moves on. That's one of those guys that saw the business differently from anybody else. It'd be great if he would still be able to be there to consult, but I don't think Vince is going to consult anything. When he decided to leave or was asked to leave, whatever the story is, I don't think he can be a guy that can hang around on the outskirts. He's going to have to go and find something else he loves to do. Former head writer for WWE, Brian Gewirtz, recently revealed in an interview with sports media that he's been helping stars in AEW with their promos. I've always maintained a great relationship with Jericho. He called me a couple of times and I threw stuff out at him. He even called me out one time because he asked me about something and I was like, well, I'm in Australia for Young Rock. I've been able to watch the show. He's like, you have a computer, don't you? Just watch the damn thing. Well, can't argue with that. You're right. There are a couple of, I don't remember specifically what the lines were. If a wrestler calls me and asks for a line, I'd love to help. When speaking to MYTV 26 at Stockton Con, Mickie James was asked what is next for her in pro wrestling, and she said, I don't know. I'm a mom. My son is 8 this year. I think I'll always do stuff with wrestling in some capacity. I enjoy doing things like this. It's a way to reconnect with fans. I don't really know what's next. That's the beauty of it. Right now, James is advertised to be facing Lizzie Evo at 1PW for October 1st, with her last competing on July 14th for Impact Wrestling. With him having a lot of success under Triple H and NXT, Kevin Owens is certainly excited over the game being head of WWE Creative, telling the TWC show, getting to work with Triple H again is really exciting because he's obviously the reason I'm here. The reason I got my opportunity in WWE, my chance to go to tryout and eventually get signed and everything. When I first started out, I was in NXT for a few months and I got to work directly with him and it was so enlightening. I've been blessed to work with a lot of people that have tremendous minds for this industry. Previously this year, Will Ospreay was out of action from a kidney infection, which led to him missing shows for Rev Pro and Warrior Wrestling. Now he's taking to Twitter to write, so it's not really spoken about enough, but May, I nearly died. My infection was that serious. Came back in 2 weeks. 3 months from that point, tomorrow I'm in the G1 final for New Japan's 50th anniversary. I wish I could hear your voices, but I'll fight with everything I've got. Despite his successful foot surgery and recent return to AEW Dynamite, it seems CM Punk is still not clear to compete at this time, with Jim Ross noting on his podcast, I knew he was in the building. I saw him briefly earlier in the day in the trainer's room getting some attention for him. He sure has been missed. There's no doubt about it. I think the crowd's reaction would indicate the same. They're ready to see him. I still don't know how healthy the guy is. I asked on air if he's been cleared to wrestle, and nobody knew. I know he will be cleared, and I know that he's under good doctor's care. This process has been ongoing. He's still in the process of healing as far as I'm concerned until I get word that he's 100%. I'm going to play it by ear. What else do you do? Punk is a tough guy. Everybody wants to see him and Moxley beat the tar out of each other, and you can count your bottom dollar that's what they're going to do. They both have that pride and all that. It's going to be arguably the biggest main event we've ever had considering all the ramifications going in, injuries, and all these things. I'm excited about calling that match. I think it's going to be fun as hell. Upon Hit Row's return to WWE on SmackDown, Top Dolla revealed in interviews that some in the WWE locker room were spreading negative ideas about him. As Mark Henry explained the situation on Busted Open Radio, Top Dolla spoke on the fact that there was a lot of chatter in the locker room about them. not being humble, them not being team players, or them not agreeing to kind of the status quo of what the WWE locker room was like. And he said, Mark, have you ever known me to be unprofessional? Have you ever known me to be a bully? No. Triple H, same thing. No. When people feel like their spots are threatened, they start putting out negative propaganda if they can't fix it. He spoke up for himself. He intimidated people. He scared people. And he's a smart dude. He's a college graduate. And some people can't take a powerful black dude telling them the right thing to do. They can't take it. I think Triple H recognized what happened and he stopped the bleeding. After suffering a knee injury on AEW Dynamite last week, Kris Statlander revealed on the Road to West Virginia YouTube special how long she'll be out. So, recovery time is about 6 to 8 months. Once we had the MRI, we were hoping it'd be a meniscus tear. That would have kept me out for 3 months at the most. But now we know the ACL is torn, it could be 6 to 8 months. Hopefully closer to 6, considering I know what I have to do. I've done this before. I come back bigger and stronger than last time, and I'm going to use this opportunity to do that one more time. Because fall down 2 times, get up 3. I'm just trying to stay positive, gotta make the jokes. It's the only way to do it. As Triple H is now in charge of WWE Creative, we've seen many of his top stars from NXT make their way back to the company. Now, many are wondering if former NXT champion Johnny Gargano will come back, as Bodyslam.net reported. Sources have told me that with Triple H now in control as head of creative in WWE, that Gargano is open to a WWE return, and that he would be interested in talking to Hunter and seeing how things would be changing. While it's been reported that Sasha Banks and Naomi have already agreed to make their WWE returns following their walkout in the summer, unfortunately, Banks has come across some bad luck during her absence, as security footage reveals that she had her truck broken into. And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.